HeroQuest? We're gonna find out today. So welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is HeroQuest. And today we're just going to spitball, casually looking for any opportunities we can to combine the game systems of HeroQuest and Mighty Empires. These would be odd bedfellows for a variety of reasons. One is set firmly in the Warhammer world. The other is set firmly in a world of magic, which many regard to be Warhammer, if not Warhammer adjacent. And in case you didn't catch it, we are referring to the classic edition of HeroQuest, the Milton Bradley version. But it's also a bit of an odd combination because the games have nothing to do with each other. They don't have any sort of mechanics that can be shared. One is a dungeon crawler, one is a tile-laying war game. In one game you roll to move, and utilize a Zargon player to undertake a series of quests that all tie into one narrative campaign. In the other, well, while scripted or pitched battles are definitely possible if you build out your world beforehand and then place your armies according to a bespoke narrative, that's not actually something that's included. You take it in turns to lay the tiles in a legal way, and every single battle will be different. I would venture to guess that due to the impossibly large combination of tile layouts available, that no two games of Mighty Empires have ever been played the same across all of the games played by all of the people who ever played it. And yet, will it HeroQuest is something that we must return to, for it is a bedrock of the channel. The first thing we're going to do is remove all of the components from the Mighty Empires game that I think will help us. We are definitely going to be taking out the world tiles. We are going to go ahead and borrow the rulebook for a bit, and I'll take these battalions, these units of men, these castles and settlements, and these dragons. We've got pirate ships too. We'll take the ships. I guess they're not necessarily pirates. We're gonna leave the decals. I don't have any reason to undecal the village, city, and fortress flags. Do I want the other tiles? Not really. Part of the series is taking some of the elements and setting them aside so that you guys can figure out how you might incorporate them into your Will It HeroQuest versions of whatever it is we're doing. In this case, these agent and assassin tiles and these direct attack, hold, counterattack, flank attack, surprise attack, and withdraw tiles, I think I will remove. Give me your ideas in the comments below on how you would utilize them. I learned after my video about this game that this tile has nothing to do with Mighty Empires. It does not belong in this box. Alright, and for HeroQuest, well, we're adapting the other game to fit HeroQuest, so everything is coming out of the HeroQuest box, is what I would say, but I'm just gonna place the board down and probably some furniture and minis. I'm honestly not even sure that I'll get that far, but we will place the board down for scenery. Ah yes, one of these things is not like the other. We're gonna have to go the obvious route, I think. And by obvious or predictable, I perhaps mean our predisposition to make a war game in between the HeroQuest quests. But I bet one or more of you out there thought, oh, I didn't realize that that's what we were going to be doing. That sounds cool. And it does. It does sound cool. But we're going to reach a little bit, and we're going to do a few things that don't directly tie into that. Or that, well, indirectly. I'll let you be the judge. We won't get too tore up about the semantics. Let us begin with the obvious connections, the obvious way that we can implement our Mighty Empires in a game of HeroQuest. It's going to take a little bit of administrative effort and or work on your part, but there are ways we can offload this to the heroes. And so, I can hear it now. Ash, why are you even making this video? Nobody has Mighty Empires. Nobody has Mighty Empires and HeroQuest. Well, I do. Obvious thing number one is we will take the Mighty Empires tiles and we will roughly create a map that corresponds to the 14 quests of the Game Systems Quest book. Now, the beauty of this is that while it will take a little bit of effort in setting up the world, which I'm doing so on the HeroQuest board only because the board is serving as a backdrop currently, not because it ties into anything in any relevant way. Oh, they are very slippery on this board. This is not a good idea. This presentation is going to absolutely suck. This might be an illegal placement, but I'm going to say that the mountains just perfectly border the edge here after this land, and then they were just cut away in a hexagonal shape, because it's so wills Sigmar. Then I decided I hated that idea, so we're not gonna do it. Okay, we're actually gonna stop here, and if anybody at all says, I think the tile you placed was illegal, it's fine, it's gonna be fine. You can decide if you want to incorporate tile placement by the heroes or yourself as Zargon, and you can decide if you want to follow the legal, illegal tile placement rules inherent in Mighty Empires. Since we are not going to be playing Mighty Empires verbatim, the legality may not have the same relevance, but this is what we're going to come up with so far. So in this little patch of land that I've made, we could go ahead and just in our minds headcanon that this represents, I don't know, 4 of the quests. We can dot them on the maps here, or we can make sure that we use the tiles that have the white circles like this one, and this can actually be representative of our quest. The problem that I could see happening is I don't know if we have the same number of tiles necessary. Then maybe that doesn't go there actually. Maybe we just have to swallow my pride. We'll put it here. I don't know how many of these white tiles we have, but if we have 14 or more, then we are golden. We are so good. We're in great shape. But you don't have to use them for that reason. Now, you can simply use this to illustrate the map of the world, and you can actually trace out the route of the heroes as they progress quest from quest. And I said 14, but actually 2 of the quests in the game system take place in the same place, so you could say 13. Okay, so why do this at all? Why would this matter in any way, shape, or form? It doesn't really, but once you set up the world and you denote exactly where the quests are, you could set up a game mode, especially if you're playing with veteran HeroQuest players, wherein they are able to point at which direction they want to go next, and if they happen to be adjacent to a different quest's node on the map, then they could take the quests slightly out of order. Now, I wouldn't advise going from the Legacy of the Orc Warlord to Lair of the Orc Warlord, since the concept of revenge that ties those 2 quests together would then be in reverse, as in it wouldn't make sense. You killed my father, he told you, but before you actually did the deed. But you could also swap the quests and swap the placement of those quests. Why would you do that? Why would you put so much administrative effort into thinking about where the quests would go and what effect the heroes would have on the world if they changed quest order? Well, it's a high probability that when you lay out your quest world the first time, that the next time you are drawing tiles and trying to recreate the world for a different table of heroes, for a different campaign for the game system, that you will not do it in the same way unless you plan to. And if you plan to, then disregard this next section. But if your world map is different every time you lay it out, not in between quests for the same game, but like between different games of HeroQuest, then that party of adventurers will affect the world or have the capability or potential to affect the world in different ways each time you play through the game system. It kind of implies that the game system is infinitely replayable because of the effect that doing the quests out of order could have on the campaign itself. Now, what do I mean by that? This is where your creativity is going to come into play, but I'm going to give you suggestions because I can do that off the cuff. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. You could even, if you're willing to rewrite a little bit of the quest pretext, do the quests out of order from the very beginning and make your heroes not have to do the trial as their first quest. But basically, if you were going to have your quests kind of set up in this region that we've built, and your heroes go to, let's say your your trial is here, which kind of makes sense. The catacombs could be deep here in the mountains. And let's say the rescue of Sir Ragnar takes place here. We will then say that Lair of the Orc Warlord takes place here. Let's replace this with a more appropriate tile, if we're going to say that. I have to keep readjusting these. I'm really regretting setting them up on this slidey board. Okay, if your 3 quests take place across these 3 hexes specifically, and they choose to do the trial first, I implore you to think about the kind of effects that them completing this quest will have on your overall world. So if they complete the trial and they destroy Varag, the foul gargoyle, well, why did they do that? Honestly, they did it because Mentor said, I need to test you guys, and if you die, well, I guess you're not the heroes that I'm looking for, but if you do this, then this trial will prove that you do have what it takes. But what if the reason that he had you go after Varag at all was because there was a magical bane cast upon this region? All right, are you letting me cook? Are we cooking? Are you cooking with me yet? The bane that is cast upon this region dictates that any travel in this area is going to be hindered by gangs of orcs and goblins. If the heroes travel to a hex that is adjacent to this quest and they have not completed the requirements of this quest, then all of the surrounding tiles will have this bane, and you can kind of decide what that is, and that's why I said prepare for some administrative effort, because you're going to be doing some planning if you take this route. This isn't the only one I've come up with, and it's not the only one I'll come up with on the fly here in this video, but this is just the first of possibilities. In clearing out Felmarg's tomb, you can successfully clear out the possibility of running into any of the monsters on the surrounding tiles. Now, that gives the heroes some incentive to knock out certain areas first, because they can take the path of least resistance. So what do I mean by beset upon by orcs and goblins if they travel in the tiles? Well, this is where the predictable element of traversing on this map comes into play. After you finish a HeroQuest quest, you will come back to the world map, and your heroes, whom I guess we could represent them somehow. I don't know how to represent the heroes. We could use this like battalion of people, and we could say that these are the mercenaries and men-at-arms and other people who accompany the heroes to make sure they get where they need to go safely. This is like a retinue of the king's men, and it makes sense, especially once you start hiring men-at-arms. If you take the system that far, where you're at a point in the game system where you're able to hire men-at-arms in one of the expansions, now you can move this from one tile to another. Now, if you've done a little bit of work with this, you will notice that if you have your tiles only 2 spaces apart, that a selection of tiles that are adjacent to both of them can have the effects given off by both of those quests tiles. So the rescue of Sir Ragnar, we could see a decrease in specifically goblin and orc activity around the edges of the tile for Rescue of Sir Ragnar. It doesn't always have to be a bad thing that you're clearing out. Sometimes it could be a good thing. And as soon as you finish that mission, the danger level of those tiles goes up, which would kind of allow the heroes a little bit of agency in how they want to tackle this in order to make sure they don't die in between quests. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. What do I mean by threats of goblin and orc activity? Well, if you move your people, your retinue, onto a tile, and the effects of the adjacent tiles haven't been resolved yet, or the trial hasn't been done, so the activity around this area is going to be a thing, then this is a random encounter. This is a battle now that you can generate, and you can use the HeroQuest board to play the battle out, and you can have your main center tile really be the arena for this. But just place your 4 heroes in the room, roll a d6, and fight that number of goblins or orcs. I guess I would say roll 1 movement die with 1 combat die, and then roll a movement die with a combat die separately. And then your first one's going to be number of orcs. Or I'm sorry, if you roll a black shield, that's an orc. If you roll a white shield, that's a goblin. If you roll a skull, it's nothing. But you'll roll, I guess I could actually just do it. I don't have any combat dice up here. Oh, I have the board. I don't have a d6? Where are my movement dice? Well, pretend I have a movement die in my hand. So when I roll that, and I'm going to roll 2 of them, I rolled a white shield, and my movement die, I rolled 4. That's 4 goblins. I'm going to roll again, and then I rolled another white shield, and I rolled a 2 on my other movement die. That's going to be 2 more goblins. So you have a warband, basically, of 4 goblins and 2 goblins, and then your heroes, and now you play it out. That's going to be kind of difficult. Goblins in a swarm can be pretty tough, and later on we might get into situations where this becomes a stronger type of monster, a mummy, chaos warrior, whatever the case may be. But you have options for this battle. You can either heal your heroes all the way up because they finished the previous quest, and you can let them fight at full strength. Or you can give your heroes the same stats that they had when they finished the previous quests. They haven't rested up yet. They are escaping. They are traveling after finishing the quest, and they have the same stats. And that could be really, really difficult. It could also be really difficult if you let them fight this battle, then go into the next quest with their current stats. So you kind of have to have some kind of reason to have this battle in between. Well, the battle could have them killed. It could see all of the heroes completely wiped out, and if that's the case, they're going to lose their gear and all their stuff. And they can re-roll new characters, and they can just start out the next quest with fresh characters. That's not the best idea, though. The game system isn't necessarily unbeatable. You can have a fresh party clear the very last quest if you get somewhat lucky with the rolls, and I mean, luck will absolutely make it possible to have a single hero completely defeat the frozen horror all by himself. But that luck is so astronomically low, you need some player agency. You need some ability for the players to, ability is not the right word, autonomy for the players to exercise. So they think that what they're doing makes a difference. And I'm putting that, so that what they do does make a difference, not just so that they think it. You're not trying to trick your players necessarily. Although any little psychological tricks we can put in here to make them have more fun are definitely worthwhile. A little bit of dark psychology as a treat. So you could give them rewards for clearing out specific monster activity. For these in-between quest fights, and I know a lot of homebrewers have made their own like quest deck and tables to roll on and settlement and travel events and things like that. That is kind of the same vein of what's going on here. If you're already working with a system like that, you can kind of use the rules for that system in place of this and see if it works. See if it works out. You're going to draw one of those cards for every space you land on. But for those of you who haven't delved that deep into between quest homebrew mechanics, you could absolutely have your party of heroes fight a generated band of monsters, defeat them, decide what kind of reward they should get for being victorious so that it feels like it was worth doing to begin with and it's not just a random attack on their sanity. Then let them move again. Now, if they move again, you can assume that they're going to move on to the next quest, resolve the quest by actually playing HeroQuest, and if they win successfully, then all of the adjacent tiles will now be devoid of whatever bane or boon that quest was granting them. But they could just as easily move to another land tile, and you might have your quests spaced farther apart, so they might have to do several of these battles on their way to the next land marker, the next quest. That's something that you'll have to think about if you are going to be building the world map and deciding where those 14 quests will go. You can also say that there are no spaces of travel, that there is a quest on every space, in which case you'll just use, I guess, 13 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and we could just take these away. We could take this away, and this could be our world map, and it's kind of neat that way. You could go ahead and just roll dice if you want to determine where the quest should be, or you can determine that without any sort of randomity. And now the players have to make choices, but they have to go through this path without stepping over any other square, except for, they're not squares, Ash, they're hexes, without stepping over the same hex twice. So if you're going to start here for the trial, and then the last quest, which takes place in Barak Tor, is perhaps here, then you would be able to do several different paths. You'd have one path this way, you could go the opposite way in order to reach the center here. It's taking the quest completely out of order, but you could do it that way. You could start here, then go in a sort of clockwise till you get to this tile. Then it's down and counterclockwise until you're able to get to this tile. If you place your adventure here, the trial, and you make your heroes do it, then you place Barak Tor here, then, oh, but Barak Tor is a tile that you would have to go to twice, actually. So I guess you would finish your first set of quests, and then eventually you'd go to Barak Tor, which quests 12 and 13 are, or 12 and 14 rather, are Barak Tor. So you'd be able to finish your quests, and then just before going to the very last tile, you'd go to Barak Tor, then the last tile, then Barak Tor again. It's a bit of a pain to think about, but the only reason we're getting into this kind of hyper niche territory with the mechanics is we're covering possibilities to get you inspired. Now, the next thing that we can do is just play Mighty Empires, and I do believe somebody said that they had a game of Mighty Empires going on at the same time as, I think, HeroQuest or Advanced HeroQuest, and the way that they did that was, how did I do this? How did I have that set up? Oh man, is they would just play the war game in between HeroQuest quests, but they were separate entities, like they were still linked in some way, just not mechanically. So you play a round of the dungeon, playing HeroQuest, and then you would switch over to Mighty Empires, and you would just play the Empire versus whatever forces of evil Zargon had, and that was the other player. That's okay. It's okay to do that. It's purely narrative. If you wanted to link the two games in some mechanical way where the amount of win that you have in one somehow affects the other and allows things to scale up without necessarily being like a cascading victory or cascading defeat, I think that would benefit you very, very much. I think your players would have a lot more fun because then when they're playing one, they'll be thinking about the other and the consequences of their actions affecting how they will be able to play the other when next they are able to play. So that's kind of taking the predictable, we're prone to just making it a war game in between HeroQuest sessions route and giving that a little bit more flavor. Okay, I've honestly got 2 more ideas that I think you'll be able to draw inspiration from, if not scale out and make your own completely. Placing the HeroQuest heroes directly on the tiles themselves for Mighty Empires, and you can do this either in between HeroQuest official quests, or you can just play it this way and you're good to go. But this is the outdoors battle, and instead of your heroes representing only themselves and the monsters in singular form here only representing themselves, the heroes are representing that specific model plus a retinue of men-at-arms, and the singular monster models are representing a warband of that monster type. So an orc warband and 2 goblin warbands are storming through the realm. We have the wizard with a detachment from the Empire and the elf with a detachment from the Empire, trying to hunt down these raiding parties and erase them from existence, end their blight. And so you can follow the Mighty Empire's rules somewhat to this extent, or you can follow the HeroQuest rules and just do a lot of combat dice rolling. In my honest opinion, if a retinue of men-at-arms and the elf and a warband of orcs fight, I would just say use the exact combat dice that you would use for an elf versus an orc in this situation, and whatever win or loss or draw happens, that represents the overall forces coming together and fighting. So you will still have body points, but you won't use body points the same way. I mean, you'll use them the same way, but we'll call them, we'd call them the number of entities in the warband. I don't actually have a good name for that. Units points? So it's just a single warband of orcs, but it's just one orc really because it's only got 1 body point. But if you score a hit on the orc, then it's kind of like your entire retinue of men-at-arms are able to score hits on all of the orcs in the warband. So that's how you can imagine it in your head. It's still immersive, yes. Your chaos warriors storming through the land with their own retinue of a chaos envoy. That's going to be several hits. That's going to feel a lot more like an epic battle, especially if you get more than one hero around that Chaos Warrior or that Gargoyle or that Mummy. It's kind of silly imagining a bunch of mummies just skirmishing through the forest. Ah well, it is what it is. That's the HeroQuest on Mighty Empire's tiles method. Okay, way earlier in the video, I said you could offload some of this administrative effort onto your players, and we've finally come full circle, or full hexagon. I'm going to be honest with you, I can't believe my concentration has held out this long. Alright, you're just playing normal HeroQuest, and you have some monsters to fight in this room, and you fight them, and they die, and now you're able to search for treasure, and this is a normal HeroQuest quest, you know, the one in the book that doesn't have any furniture or doors. But Zargon knows that hidden in one of the rooms is a tile. So it's not literally a tile, but the hero who searches for the plans or the chart, map, there we go, that's the word, the map, the chart of the land, the plans of how the land was formed geographically, they will find a tile. And this is important, so give it to whoever found it. So if the elf searched this room for treasure, and this is the room that you decided this tile should be in, the elf is going to get that tile, and you could do it premeditated. You could have these tiles basically arranged in a certain way where the heroes will definitely get them in the same order no matter what, or you can do it randomly. Or you could even have like a selection and let the hero pick whichever one, let the player pick which tile they want to take. But at the end of the game, the hero player, one of them, will have a tile. And now you will go back to the sort of building out your world scenario, except you, Zargon, well, you're just going to place 1 tile. And the hero that found the tile in the previous game will place their tile next to the tile that you've placed. And you will be able to journey into that next area. Okay, so what relevance does this have? So after every game, the hero will have drawn a tile because they will have found, hopefully, the tile that's on the board. And that hero, whoever found it, so that way it can be any hero, and they'll all be incentivized to look, they'll be able to help you build out the world by placing the tiles. And you'll be able to figure out, if it's a legal placement, illegal, whatever. But at least for the first several tile placements, you should be able to make fairly legal moves, especially if you deviate a bit from the Mighty Empire's rule set, and you just are able to kind of place tiles down like this. At no point can you move any of the tiles. And if you get to a point where you can't place a tile in between two other ones because that would be illegal, like this stream ending in grass, well, we can keep the momentum there and we can keep the immersion. We can say you can't do that. Okay, but again, what is the meaning of doing it this way? Well, it gives the heroes a little bit of a fun thing to do, but we kind of need a reason for them to plan out where they would want to put the tiles. So I would suggest going to a website where you can generate a hex grid and print out a hex grid that's the same size as the Mighty Empire's tiles, and write in each hex a specific benefit that the heroes will get if they place a tile in that region. It could be a specific benefit that just that hero gets, and now all the heroes are incentivized to search early and frequently for the tiles that are in a given dungeon. You can also make this a little bit more interesting by placing more than one tile in a given HeroQuest quest dungeon, so that way there's a little bit of a selection when it's time for the heroes to place their tiles down. You can have the heroes place one tile, or every hero can be required to place any tiles they have in their possession in order to flesh out that world. That world is going to be that blank map with all of the hexes that have the different stat increases or other boons or treasure or gold or what have you that the heroes will collect, and the heroes will be forced to choose which thing that they want while abiding by the rules of placing the tile down to build out the overall hex grid map. You can also have some restriction there, because if you're printing that out, you only have so many tiles to go. So you will get to a point where heroes have built around a tile. That tile has a really, really good boon. It's like +2 body points, or whatever you dictate should be fair or interesting. Permanently 2 maximum body points, but they can't put a tile there now because somebody else put one here, and now the rest of the tiles that they're collecting are not legal for placement there. And in fact, it could be something that's impossible to place a tile. So, haha, Zargon gets the last laugh there. The other thing I thought of you being able to do is find these specific symbols, which these could be war plans. And you are able to hand the war plan over to the hero who found it, much in the same way that you did the tiles. Then the hero will be able to take the war plan, and this is what they can place on the tile to secure it and make it safer. And kind of like the game of Monopoly. God, I never thought I would make a comparison to that game here. Hold on, I gotta do the cross formation over myself. I'll have to sacrifice some Citadel miniatures to the old gods to appease them for that one. It's time to melt more beastmen in acetone. They've built out this much terrain, and the orc is here just to give you some inspiration. Maybe you want to do something with the monsters in this context. I don't know. You place down a tile, or they place down a tile, and you, Zargon, you place down an orc. Now what you gonna do? Well, but if they place down this, then that's gonna give you a secondary benefit that was allowed on that tile, and maybe you'd have that written down in the white space down below. So that gives heroes the incentive to build upon earlier upgrades, and it doesn't have to be an upgrade to their stats. It could just as much be gold or specific treasures or artifacts. Gold is usually a great thing to give to heroes. Just bam, 100 gold, 100 gold. 200 gold maybe. And those are all of the ways that I could think of for now to play HeroQuest using Mighty Empires. I got the book out, but I ended up not using it. I guess if you want to kind of expand this a little bit more, you can think of ways to utilize the espionage rule set, and you could possibly think of ways to utilize the ships and war at sea rule set. So maybe it's mandatory. If a coastal tile does not have a fortification on it of some kind, then a ship tile, or I'm sorry, miniature will come into play, and you can have this start to sail in. The Empire's men have seen this ship. They have sighted it. It's actually a fleet of ships represented by one miniature in this case, but you'll place it onto your blank map hexes that's in kind of line of sight to that coastal tile, and that gives the heroes a heads up that they need to be paying attention to this, because on the next turn, after their next quest, it will get one tile closer. And on their next quest after that, and I would say they can't build where the ship is, it's going to be open sea, the pirate ship will land, the fleet of enemy dread ships will land on the tile, and that tile benefit will disappear because now those lands have been overrun by the forces of Zargon. The Dragon Rage is something that I haven't touched on, and winter events and revenue are things that I have not touched on. Recruitment I have not touched on. I would say if you have established a stronghold on one of the tiles, this should give you the ability to hire a man-at-arms, even if you're playing the base game system. And this is especially useful if you've got the advanced quest version where you can hire the men-at-arms that come included with the box. Not advanced HeroQuest, HeroQuest Advanced Quest, that one. Will advanced HeroQuest Mighty Empires? You'll have to let me know if you want to see something like that in the comments below, but for now, I think I've given you enough food to chew on for a while. And I really wanted to do this video because I was full of ideas that I had to get out of my system. But you'll have to let me know which of those ideas are actually useful or which ones you think are cool. You can absolutely proxy a lot of this stuff and not even have to use Mighty Empires or anything from it. But if you've got the tiles laying around and you've got an inch of dust on the box, this might give you a good reason to pull it back out and play with the mates. Alright, brave heroes and mighty warriors alike, I will see you in the next exciting adventure, and I really hope that you like this. Be sure to let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Would really love to know your thoughts on this one because I was excited to do this one, and I will see you in the next exciting adventure. So until then, I bid you a fantastic rest of your day and a farewell for now. I'm not done. I gotta put my stuff away.